Imagine being the first person in the world to complete a specific video game in under an hour, start to finish. Some people don't have to imagine, as users speedrun thousands of titles and many games reaching the milestone of being completed in a matter of minutes rather than hours. This is quite a rare milestone in Grand Theft Auto speedruns, as pretty much every GTA title has either already surpassed the hour mark or is way too long for it to currently be considered viable. The only main outlier to this rule was Grand Theft Auto 3, as the world record was set at 1 hour and some seconds for a long time. GTA 3 also happens to be quite a bit less popular than its brothers in the 3D trilogy, meaning that there are less people to find new strategies. Completing GTA 3 in under an hour was known to be technically possible for a long time. It just wasn't plausible with current strategies. Did the perfect run occur with incredible luck and perfect execution? Maybe a new strategy was found that blew everyone out of the water. No, not really. What about if runners decided to look at using strategies that were discovered over 6 years ago? Let's take a look. Don't get me wrong, this run is not a case of a changing strategies making the speedrun trivial. GTA 3 is arguably the most brutal GTA speedrun due to the luck needed and huge risk of the strategies involved. There are many cases where a lot of luck is needed on top of flawless execution to even stand a chance when facing this behemoth of a game. Let's dive into what makes GTA 3 so insane. A lot of early time save in GTA 3 comes from timers. A lot of strategies involve rampages, which are pickups that when collected give you 2 minutes in order to kill a certain group of people with a certain weapon for money. These rampages can be abused in a number of ways in speedruns, and the fixed 2-minute time limit is especially important. In many examples, this 2-minute time limit is what we call an autoscroller. An autoscroller is essentially something that cannot be sped up. In GTA 3's case, as long as you complete everything you need to within these 2 minutes, you will never lose any time. I understand that might be a little hard to digest, so let me try and visualize it.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
You have point A and point B. Point A is starting the rampage, and point B is using the rampage for whatever purpose you need it for. The time from point A to point B will always be 2 minutes, as the rampage fails when those 2 minutes expire, and that failure is what is used in speedruns. Speedrunners use a rampage for this, and as mentioned before, as soon as you start that rampage, you are on a timer until it fails. If you do everything super quick, you'll have to wait for the rampage to fail anyway. Starting the rampage is point A, skipping Mike Lips' last lunch is point B. So if the time from point A to point B is always the same, does this mean that all runners will be on equal pace here? Well, no. The way veteran runners save time is by starting the rampage as early as possible, aka starting the process of going from A to B as soon as they can. This is very risky in a lot of situations, as this gives you less leeway to complete everything you need to in order to reach point B in time. If you don't make it to point B, the run is over. This risk is tenfold in this particular rush from A to B, as the only way to properly start this process at the earliest possible time is to find a taxi. Taxis spawn randomly on the street. There are consistent spawns, but they're too far away to be viable. This means that you need to get lucky and find a taxi very early on in order to even start a run. That's not all though. Remember when we talked about the 2-minute timer and completing certain tasks in that time? Well, in this particular time frame, one of those tasks is also to get a cop car. You are directly next to the police station during this time, and there are 2 fixed cop cars that always spawn here. So what's the problem? Well, it's random whether they're locked or not. The cop cars here are locked 60% and 70% of the time. There's also a chance that you can get a cop car on the road, but that is also random. You can also find a police officer on foot and kill him to spawn a cop car to come after you, but that is also random. Everything about this segment is random, and runners can spend hours resetting here until they get a good enough start. There are a few other examples of the A to B process I mentioned earlier, such as just before the mission Cipriani's chauffeur. It's exactly the same principle. Start the rampage, 2 minutes, glitch to skip a mission. Those playing safe will usually start the rampage somewhere just before the start of the mission, as this will allow them to have more room for error. This type of playstyle is simply not possible if you're going for a run under an hour though. Runners will start the rampage almost immediately after completing the last mission, meaning that there is no leeway to be found. Any single driving mistake or instance of unlucky traffic and the run is instantly dead. Even with flawless execution, runners will have around a second left on the timer before they complete what they need to do.
Take a seat, kid. Take a goddamn seat. Take a seat, kid.
We're going to Aruba.
The next time this process occurs is just before the mission, the pickup. Here, we need a taxi for the same reason as before, and once again, it's completely random if you get one optimally or not. The quickest vehicle that's near to you as you search for the taxi is the ambulance at the hospital, but even that has a 30% chance to be locked. In fact, you use the ambulance numerous times in Portland, and if it's locked, you need to death warp and try again. Time losses like this just aren't acceptable when going for a run under an hour, so you better hope that ambulance is unlocked. Fun. Oh, and then I get a fucking locked out. Fuck. 1% chance. Oh my god. Wow. But this is 6. 7. This is ridiculous odds. 8. There's no way, like, my game has to be fucked, right? The rest of Portland is somewhat trivial when compared to the absolute chaos we've just been through, until the very end at least. The very last mission, Last Requests, has one final kick in the teeth for runners going for the world record. The world record route uses something called man-duping. Man-duping is a very fast but also inconsistent method to set up glitches in GTA 3. Here, you want to start the final Portland mission and a rampage at the same time for a glitch later. Your only choice in this route is to jump into the mission trigger and start the rampage at a precise time. Here's the catch. Even if you start the rampage frame perfectly each time, you will still fail. This is because starting missions and rampages are all based on cycles. When you enter a mission marker, you won't always start the mission at the same time. The difference is only a matter of frames at most, so it's not something that you'd ever notice without prior knowledge. However, because this setup is a matter of frames, one bad cycle and it's all over. This doesn't stop here, as when we move on to the next island, there is yet another man-dupe. Now that I've explained just how unlikely it is to even get a run past the first third of the game, let's discuss 2015. The good old days, back when we were discovering flowing water on Mars, and Jeremy Clarkson was punching Top Gear producers. 2015 was a strange year for GTA 3 speedrunning, as it was the year that several really fast strategies were found, but almost none of them were actively used. The first strategy we are going to take a look at is Tank ED. ED stands for Evidence Dash, and is one of the most luck-based missions in GTA 3. Your objective is to bump into a truck that's driving around Staunton Island, and collect 6 evidence packages. Once you have all 6, you torch the car they're stashed in and the mission is complete. Conceptually it's very simple, but in reality it can be a nightmare to do fast. The truck's driving route is completely random, and speedrunners want the truck to drive as close to where the next mission starts as possible. The closer you are to the next mission, the less time you'll need to spend driving there once the mission is over. It's possible for the truck to just drive in the complete opposite direction, and you'll lose minutes and it's completely out of your control. Nick007J, a well-known community member who is most recognized nowadays for his work on the RE3 project, discovered that the mission Evidence Dash can be completed almost instantly with a tank. When you're driving a tank in GTA 3 and collide with another car, it explodes. The developers made the truck explosive-proof to prevent players from just blowing up the truck themselves, but as you need to collide with the truck to get the packages out, the truck can easily be damaged by collisions. Or when it comes to the tank, one giant collision. This begs the question, where on earth could you get a tank? Well, there is a tank in the previous mission, Arms Shortage. This tank cannot usually be entered as the doors are locked. However, a method was discovered to teleport into the tank by blocking both doors in a particular way. If you park a car on one side and push the tank a little to block the other with this pole, you can warp into the tank and use it for evidence dash. This strategy, while very innovative, was not utilized in speedruns though, because we are missing one key detail. Tanks are usually explosion proof to prevent you blowing yourself up if you hit another car. I say usually because this particular one isn't, which means if you're not very careful, boom! As a result, Tank ED was considered too risky in order to be worth attempting in runs at the time, and would sit dormant for years to come. This wasn't the only strategy in 2015 that was seemingly dead on arrival though. Let me introduce you to Replay Adito. Adito stands for a drop in the ocean, and is the final mission before unlocking the third and final island in GTA 3. This mission during speedruns is usually very relaxing, as it's another auto-scroller like we talked about before. A plane is arriving to drop off some packages in the ocean. You must grab a boat and pick them up before the police do. As long as you're in time to collect the final package, it is impossible to lose any time. For a long time, this mission was more about finding things to do in the waiting period to save time elsewhere, than actually trying to save time in the mission itself. That was until it was discovered that it's possible to collect the packages using the game's replay function. Usually you'd have quite a long drive back to the mission end location once you'd collected the packages. But what if you could use the waiting period to drive along the route where the packages will drop, save a replay of you doing it, and then drive back to complete the mission the second the final package lands? Truly an insane feat, especially when there's not much but the waves to work for as a reference point. As you can imagine, this strategy was immediately thrown out as well. It's too risky. It instead became a strategy runners would go for on a dead run just to see what would happen.
Back and couldn't find him for an hour.
Around here. Shit. Around here. I think I don't know, someone has to tell me more about this. Can turn around. Can I? One. Yeah, they are moving. 2, 3. No. 4. 5. 6.
As time went on, runners began to optimize the game more and more. It was clear that GTA 3 was getting very optimized, and with a number of sizable time saves hanging over runners' heads, it wasn't long before runners revisited these strategies once more in order to try and push towards the 1 hour mark. One runner who began trying Replay Adito in runs was Camix. Camix was already a decent GTA runner, with a history in San Andreas already. I'd say it wasn't until he started playing GTA 3 that he really hit his stride though. It didn't take long before Camix quickly became a record contender, and even record holder in GTA 3. Camix at this point was closer than ever to a sub 1 hour time, but he wasn't alone. There was a name absent from the leaderboards, even though unofficially they were the first to complete the game in under 1 hour and 1 minute.
Get this thing airborne!
Fuck yes, man! Oh my god!
Anti had been absent from the leaderboards for a number of years, but came back to officially competing during 2021. With Anti's return and Kamek building consistency with the new strategies, the road to sub 1 hour had heated up. It's important to distinguish that not every single run included every strategy we've talked about today. Anti wasn't attempting tanky D in most runs, as it didn't save that much time compared to an optimal evidence dash the usual way. Runs that involved this strategy for him were mostly throwaways as a sort of last-ditch effort to save time that had been lost earlier. Runs that were on pace went something more like this.
No.
Get this thing airborne!
Residents in Cedar Grove have been coming to terms with the emotional aftermath of a full-blown war that hit the area yesterday. Local resident Clive Denver described to police a single gunman that he saw fleeing the scene with a dark-haired woman.
We're gonna have such fun, cause you know I love you. I really love you.
I slammed my desk and I muted my mic. I can't fucking believe I did it, man.
It's crazy to look back and see how a combination of the old and the new can sometimes be the best way forward, and that speedrunning history is one of the most important qualities to hold on to if you want a game to flourish. You never know what discoveries are waiting behind every corner, or perhaps even the previous corner. Thank you for joining me on this journey through history, and I'll see you next time.